Time now just coming up to 7:15, and it's been described as the worst treatment disaster in the history of the NHS. Tens of thousands of people were given blood products and transfusions which were infected with HIV and hepatitis in the 1970s and 80s. Later this morning, a second report into the scandal will be published, focusing on the compensation framework for victims and their families. The UK government says it welcomes the report and the infected blood scandal should never have happened. Well, Bill Wright is chair of Haemophilia Scotland. Good morning to you, Bill, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. What
are you expecting to hear today?
Well, I think for once we're actually feeling pretty optimistic. This has been a very, very long time coming, and expectations are fairly high on really Sir Brian Langstaff, who's been the chair of this inquiry. I think he's been the man who finally, after literally decades, has got to the truth. And the truth for government, frankly, doesn't look very clever. There have been umpteen opportunities missed when infections could have been avoided. And also, so many people just weren't told that they'd been infected, in some cases with HIV, but many with hepatitis C. And Sir Brian has already ruled that interim compensation should be paid in the autumn of last year, and government paid that out, £100,000 per person. So I think what he's focused on is the delay that's been involved in this, because, of course, the sad fact is the longer that we wait for government to pay compensation out, the more people are dying and becoming more and more ill while waiting. So I believe that Sir Brian will say something very positive.
Yeah. Do we know then what sort of framework he's thinking about in terms of how people are compensated, I don't know, for their weight and for the depth of injury caused to them?
Yes, there is a framework in place. 2 years ago, Sir Robert Francis, he was asked by government to conduct a study to look at how compensation might be awarded. The last thing we want for the thousands of people who've been affected by this is to have to go through the courts. I mean, it would simply clog the courts up. And so government asked him to set this framework up. He did so. It probably in many cases would be a sort of damages equivalent type award. But the main thing is that they can be fast-tracked in that process. And I would anticipate that Sir Brian is likely to make, hopefully, fairly pretty positive comment on what Sir Robert has said.
You mentioned there that interim compensation has already been paid out, last autumn, £100,000 per person. Has that made a difference for many families?
£100,000 is not an amount of money to be sniffed at. But what we have to remember is that many people have already died. Far too many, frankly, and people are still at end-of-life situations here. I think, for example, those people that we're talking about, in many cases it may well simply be, I wouldn't say a small fraction, but a fraction of what they may well be due, because we're looking at potentially several hundred thousands of pounds in many cases. People lost their livelihoods.
Yeah.
People lost their main income earners. And so, we're actually talking about a period of time stretching back over 40 years in order to compensate for. I think one of the other important things we'll be looking at today is what's going to happen in terms of sons and daughters and mothers and fathers that have lost loved ones.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting there. There's a wee bit of a delay on the line. From the point of view then, for what these families have been through, is the compensation ever going to be enough for them? Does the government have to apologise outright?
Of course not. You can never bring loved ones back. We've had apologies before. What I think is now important is that we get an apology, a meaningful apology, saying we're sorry, we regret these particular, and then a catalogue of the reasons why government is apologising. And I think the other thing we need to do is look at a whole raft of measures in terms of better health care for these people, in terms of what's actually happening to them, psychological support, physiotherapy, these sorts of things. And hopefully, when the final report comes out in the autumn, people can finally move on with their lives.
Bill, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Bill Wright there, the chair of Haemophilia Scotland.